and I love getting on here and talking about Jesus and how the amazing things that he's done in my life. And I do a lot of studying, a lot of research. I love learning about the Bible. I've been walking with Jesus for over 22 years, and I'm still learning new stuff. And I thought it'd be cool to get on here and share some awesome facts that I've learned, and maybe something you didn't know or something you learned and just didn't pick up on it or never gave it really much thought. But I'm going to dive right into it. Y'all will hold on, put your seatbelt on. We're going to learn some cool facts about Jesus, some stuff that you probably have never thought of, stuff that you may have heard of. So, the first thing I want to tell you is Jesus fulfilled prophecies written 700 to 1,000 years before his birth. Isaiah, Zechariah, and even Psalms describes his birth, life, betrayal, death, and resurrection in detail long before his crucifixion even existed. That's a cool fact, right? So, the second thing I want to tell you is Jesus' influence is so great that history is divided by his life. Whether people believe in him or not, the entire world uses BC, which stands for before Christ, and it uses AD in the year of the Lord to mark the time because of him. History divide. He's so known that history is divided in time because of him. That's a really neat fact. And one of the third things I was looking at today, just some cool things, random things I was looking up. Jesus chose fishermen, tax collectors, and ordinary people on purpose. He didn't choose the religious elite. He picked regular people, me and you, showing that God can use anyone, anybody. And God used a lot of broken people. Look at some of the prophets in the Bible. They were some of the most messed up people in the world at the time, murderers. I mean, they were just not good people. But Jesus transformed them. When they followed Jesus and started following Jesus with their heart, they transformed him, right? Um, the fourth thing, every time Jesus healed someone, their sickness never returned. How cool is that? And these are, like I said, these are stuff you may have heard in Bible story, Sunday school, if you attended church, whatever, but it's just cool, fun facts that I really dive deep into the Bible. I study it because I've been walking with Jesus for over 20 years. And, um, you know, have I stayed on the path that I should for 22 years? No, we all stray away. We all fall short, but that's okay because he's so awesome that when we do, we just say, Lord, forgive me. But you have to pick up that cross daily. You have to have that relationship daily with him. You need to be looking up every morning when you wake up and say, Jesus, put your armor around me, protect me, keep the devil away. And if you walk that path and that kind of life and live in that transformation that when you were saved, he transformed you, there's not a one part of your life that won't get better. I'm living proof of it. I've been 22 years ago, I was a drug addict. I was knee deep in sin. I lost my house. I lost everything I owned. And I fully surrendered my life to Jesus. He took addiction away from me. He gave me a beautiful family that I have. My wife and I have been married 15 years now. We have three beautiful kids. And he pulled me out of one of the worst situations anybody can ever be in. And all I did was trust him. That's all I did. I fully surrendered, and I said, God, these are your, and you have to understand and read His Word. So these are just some fun facts that I'm sharing with people. But the fourth one I just said was every time Jesus healed someone, his sickness never returned. There's no record of Jesus ever doing a partial miracle. No record. His healings were complete, instant, and permanent. These were documented things, not just made up stuff like people say or argue, the people the non-believers. Um, Jesus never lost an argument. Did you know that? Pharisees, scribes, priests, lawyers, Roman leaders, no matter who questioned him, he always answered with wisdom that left them silent. One thing I like to tell people when I'm talking about Jesus that's really cool, that people that don't believe in Jesus, and I'm just, I'm trying to reach out to them, and we can't just force people to love Jesus, right? All our job is being a good disciple for Him, is planting that seed and letting God water it. That's all we have to do. But I like giving people facts because we're a human and we want facts. We want facts, right? Like we know one, the forefathers, the founding forefathers. All that's history documented stuff. Well, so is all this stuff I'm telling you. Over 60 authors, 60 different over 60 books in a 1,500 year span, right? Um, Over a 1,500 year span, right? You hear me? Over 60 books across 3 continents, surrounded by one person, Jesus Christ. That's pretty amazing if you think about it. And he missed. So another fact that I was looking at today, Jesus is mentioned by multiple non-Christian historical sources. Tacitus, Josephus, Pliny the Younger, and even the I can't pronounce it really good. It's Talmud. I think it's Talmud mentioned him. That means Jesus is historically undeniable, and even outside of the Bible, the history's there. There was a Jesus of Nazareth. So hundreds saw Jesus alive after the resurrection. I think it says like there was 500 witnesses is what it says. Yep, right. So over 500 witnesses at one time witnessed him being alive after he was crucified. Many of them alive when Paul wrote 1 Corinthians 15. Too many witnesses to be dismissed as a legend. I mean, these are just cool facts that like I said, I do a lot of research and I take a lot of time and put this stuff together just to spread the gospel and spread His word. So people that follow Him or believe Him, it's stuff that we shouldn't need assurance. If we love Jesus and we follow Jesus and we have our daily relationship, He tells us to pick up the cross daily. We shouldn't need reassurance. We should but for non-believers or people who are doubting it, these are some cool, really cool, fun facts just to say, hey, this guy. I mean, one of the earliest Jewish arguments was not that the tomb was empty, but that the disciples came and stole the body, even though they had Roman soldiers in there guarding it for 3 days, because Jesus told everybody, I will return, I will rise 3 days later, right? And the Romans said, we can't have any of his followers still in the body, because then it's going to prove that that he's real or whatever. So they had that tomb guarded. But either way, the argument proves one thing: the tomb was empty. Had Jesus' body been in that tomb, Christianity wouldn't have survived 1 week. You can believe that. Jesus showed emotions deeply and openly. He wept, he celebrated, he laughed, he got angry at injustice, he showed compassion, proving God's heart isn't cold or distant. Jesus never traveled more than about 200 miles from home. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought, wow. You think about that. We go on vacations now. We can fly all over the world. We can go 2,000, 3,000 miles, hop on a plane, and be there. Anywhere we want to in the world. Um, but yet his message. So hear me out again. Jesus never traveled more than about 200 miles from home, but yet his message spread to billions across continents, even though he never wrote a book, built an army, or ran a government. Think about that. He never wrote a book, he never built an army, or he never ran a government. But yet his message is spread to billions across 3 continents, right? That's what I just told you earlier. So Jesus' first miracle was at a wedding celebration. His ministry began not in a temple, but at a party, showing that God cares about real life joy and community, not just the ritual. He did not come for the religion, he came to restore the relationship. Jesus touched the untouchable, lepers, the demon possessed, the sick, the outcast. Nobody was too unclean or too broken for him. He went to these people. He didn't go into these high class people who had religion, who practiced religion. He went to the people, just regular people. And you just imagine a king, king of all kings, walking into a party where you're at instead of the country club. And that's how real he was. That's how, that's where he reached people. And his final words, it is finished. In Greek, I'm going to try to say this, tet, tetelestai, tetelestai. Tetelestai. It means debt fully paid. And, another fun fact I'll share with you, and then I'll quit running my mouth. I'll get on here and I'll just love spreading Jesus' got word. But some of you may know this, some of you may not. But check this out. This is a cool fact. Does anybody on here, and you can comment, I'll respond, I'll give you a couple seconds. So listen to this. Does anybody on here know why Jesus wore a crown of thorns at the cross? A lot of people have never put this together. But I told you, I study deep, and I, I, I'm fascinated with the Bible. Revelations is one of my favorite books. I just got done diving into Romans. Romans is a great book. Paul teaches us a lot. Romans can be intimidating when you first start reading it. But back to my question. How many people know why Jesus wore a crown of thorns to the cross? This is a absolute 100% fact. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. He wore a crown of thorns at the cross for this reason. Even before he came to earth. So if you remember, the book of Genesis tells us that Adam and Eve disobeyed God in the Garden of Eden, right? Their sin resulted in a curse on humanity. And that curse resulted in the grounds being covered with thorns. So you have to look at it from a bigger picture. This was all a part of God's plan. The ground was covered with thorns. The garden was cursed. The curse was on all humanity at that point, and this was all part of God's plan. So even when the Romans thought they were mocking him by saying, "Here, let's give you this crown since you claim to be the king, the Messiah," they put it on his head. So our curse that Adam and Eve started back in the Garden of Eden became his crown that he wore to the cross. And I just find that, a lot of people have not ever put that together. And I can't take full credit. I seen a guy talking about this online, but I don't just go with what people say. I like digging into it. You're right. I'm not a person who watches something on the news and calls me, "Did you see this?" No, I'm not that guy. Anything I get on here and say is going to be facts that I have researched, and I feel 100% confidence. And I'm a vessel for Jesus, and I let him speak through me. And I feel like he laid it on my heart just to get on here tonight and spread some awesome facts that maybe we've never thought of. Maybe you have, maybe you're not. But I hope that this reaches some people. I hope that this helps some people. I want to tell you, I want to end the conversation by this. I was one of the, and you've heard me say it before, one of the most broken people, one of the most absolute knee deep in sin people. And I felt like everybody was turned against me, even my own family. In my mind, I thought my extended family, I thought they didn't want anything to do with me. And all that was the devil lying to me. See, I was saved. I got saved at 15. I didn't grow up I didn't have a Christian background. Jesus found me in a very unique way. And I tell that story. You can subscribe to my channel and you can go in there and watch it. I'm a I'm a Southern guy, if you can't tell by my old hick voice, but I can tell you that um, I'm I really put a lot of thought and prayer into what I get on here, and I watch myself when I'm talking about Jesus. And the things that I've seen him do for my life are just simply amazing. My walk with him has been amazing. I would never, ever, ever, ever want to change anything about that. When I was broken and I got down on my knees and I cried like a baby out to him in my late 20s, over 22 years ago, he took addiction away from me overnight. I didn't need support groups. I didn't need um, uh, anything but Jesus. That's all I needed. How do I know he took addiction away from me that night? Because I prayed and I asked him to. I was a father, a new father. I had a daughter. She was 3 or 4. I grew up seeing my stepmom and my mom just peeled up all the time, and um, I thought, that's the way we're supposed to be. So even though Jesus found me in a very unique way when I was 15, and I did ask him into my heart. I said the Lord's Prayer and asked him into my heart, but I never grew. I never was in a situation to grow. But so I set out on a 13-year path of destruction, and I had gotten married and had a daughter with my first wife, and we were just both into drugs and stuff, and it got so bad that we split up. I lost my house. I was homeless. And thank God my daughter was so young she don't remember it. She is 24 now, and she is an amazing young lady. She's been married to a really cool guy that she had dated for 8 years. They've been married for a year now. Me and my wife have been married for 15 years, and we have 2 boys together. But even though my daughter is really not hers, she is really hers. They have an awesome bond. And I love my family. I love my family so much. I love Jesus so much. And, he took this broken old country boy and he put me back together overnight. And where I was going with that is, and I'll tell you this just so it'll be on this feed too. So when I asked Jesus to take addiction away from me, I can remember I was sitting there alone in my apartment. I was single. I wasn't dating anybody, just wasn't really in the mood. I was just, all I could think about was drugs. And one night, I just felt just something different. And I was watching my daughter play in the floor, and I was peeled up. I was on pills and drinking and stuff. And I just remember sitting there watching her, and I just had a moment of clarity. And I feel like it was the Lord just tugging on me. And I remember thinking, I do not want her to grow up in the life that I lived and seen, and I won't change. So I went in there and I put her to bed and told her I loved her. Um, and she went to sleep, and I went back and I just sat down in our recliner, and I just, my tears just ran down my cheek. I was like, this is terrible. I'm sitting here, I'm high. I wasn't incoherent, but um, and I got up out of my chair and I went back in there. She was already asleep, and I just looked at her and I said, I'm gonna do better for you. And I'm gonna get choked up. I'm sorry, but I said I'm gonna get better for you and myself. And I went back and I sat down in that recliner and I looked over and I remember looking at my Bible. I picked up my Bible and I just flipped it open, and it came up to Romans chapter 8, and it became my life verse, Romans 8:28. I'm not going to tell you what it says because I want you to go look it up. It's my life verse. It's a really good verse. And I got down on my knees and I started crying like a baby. And I said, Jesus, I'm tired. I'm tired of getting up every day and trying to find these drugs and trying to trying to get, just be high and self medicating myself from stuff that He can heal me from. You know, I didn't have a great childhood. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. And I prayed and I told God, I said, the first thing I said to Him is, I said, please take this addiction away from me. I have an addict's brain. I said, whatever you do, just take this addiction away from me. Help me be the father that I need to be to this little girl, this precious gift that you've given me. And I just was praying so many things that night. I went in there and I laid my head down on my pillow and I fell asleep and I slept the best I've ever slept in my life. So we've all been there. If you've been addicted to any kind of substance or drugs or anything like that. So the first thing you do, first thing I did when I got up in the morning is I'm like, oh, I got to get high, right? Well, so I go and I said, I really prayed I wanted Jesus to take my addiction away the night before, and I said maybe I shouldn't do that. Well, I grabbed that pill bottle and I started popping them. I started drinking. I sat down 30 minutes later and I got the sickest I'd ever been in my life. Had never been sick off of any kind of pills or alcohol because my body was used to them. And I mean sick. I was in my bathroom, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be graphic, but violently throwing up. And I just remember what is going on. And I just feel the hair on the back of my neck stand up feeling. And I just feel, that inner voice. And I feel like Jesus is saying, you told me to take addiction away from you. That's what I'm doing. Man, I went and I grabbed everything in my apartment that was the bad and I flushed it down the toilet right then that day 22 years ago, and I've never looked back. Never looked back. Never slipped, never fell, never looked back. And and then I started to pray for God to send me a good woman. I wanted it to be somebody made for me. And he started putting me back together piece by piece. I could feel him. And so I just began to pray and have a relationship with him. And the power of prayer is just amazing. And I started that relationship with him. And after I started that relationship with him, my life just started getting better and better and better. It's like he was giving me little things back at a time. I'd made such a mess of my life and dug such a deep hole that I never thought I was going to come out of it, right? But he reached down and he grabbed me out of that hole and he started putting me back together. A year later, I met my wife, the woman that he sent to me. I met her. I knew the day I met her, this is God. He sent her. And a lot of people don't like their in-laws, right? I love my in-laws. They're amazing people. I absolutely love them so much. They are the best people in the world. But she was kind of going through a rough time when I met her as well. We're all human. And as God was putting me back together, He put her in my life when she needed me and when I needed her. It was like a perfect timing. And and I went out with her for 3 months and I asked her to marry me because I knew. And we've been happily married for 15 years this past June. Has it been easy? Has it been perfect? No. But it is as close to perfect as it can get. I love my family dearly. But most importantly, I love Jesus the highest of all. Jesus comes first in my life. He needs to come first in your life. No matter, and you look at me on the other side of this screen, the person that is looking at me right now, you look into my eyes, I'm telling you, no matter what you're going through or how many lies the devil has told you that you're not worth anything and you can't be fixed and you need to stay on these drugs because you're no better than that, You tell him he's lying and he's a coward. And you get on your knees and you claim that in the name of Jesus and watch your life change forever. I have seen him do this to so many people. Y'all, he got, he is I just cannot express to you. I can't be no more sincere than what I am right now. I wake up. The first thing I do is I look up and I say, God, this is your day that you made for me. Put your armor around me. Give me the tools I need to fight the devil. Keep the devil away. And I just go about my day. And every time that I get a chance, I pray. I talk to him. It's do it. Try it. If you are sitting there doubting what I'm saying, and you're letting the devil still win and tell you you're worthless, you are worth everything. And you know why you're worth everything? Because God made you, and God doesn't make mistakes. It's all about your spirit and your body over your mind. Don't let your mind control everything. Use the spirit and the body. Does that make sense? I'm talking to you, the one person that's listening to this and says, I messed up, I slipped again. I started back down on my drugs. I was sober for 2 days and I relapsed. Pick up the cross instead of the pipe. Pick up the cross instead of the bottle. Pick up the cross instead of the pills. And you give it to Jesus. You do that, and I promise you, he'll transform you. And there's not anything that's. Is your life going to be immediately perfect? Absolutely not. But is it going to start to become better and better every day as you grow in his love and his mercy and his grace? Absolutely. Well, I'm getting off here and I'm going to go to bed. I just want to get on here and share some fun facts for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. Follow me, subscribe. I absolutely love getting on here and spreading God's word. I love telling my stories. I've got a lot of good stuff to tell. I'm just an old country boy from the South. I got a lot of good stories. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can relate. So let's have some fun. Let's get to know each other. Let's build unity in Jesus' name. For real. But I am going to get off here. I got to go in here and get these youngins to bed. Y'all have a blessed rest of your night. Don't lay down. Remember, don't lay down and keep letting that burden bothering you. Don't lay there and wrestle with it. Give it to God. Let him take care of it. Simple. I hope y'all have a wonderful night. God bless you.